Hitchhiker's Chronicle Tome 1 Hitchhiking What a Trip. Chapter Detox Centers. Cover page. I am an alcoholic, multi drugs addict. But luckily for me, I was able to get control over some of my addictions. I haven't used any cocaine, mescaline, or LSD since 1990. But I cannot have any cocaine around or close to me. It makes me really nervous. I have to leave its vicinity and the ones using it immediately. An incredible, uncontrollable fear, right? It's impossible, I cannot control it, of falling back in it get a hold of me automatically. Within 5 minutes, I disappear from its visual and smell presence. Like if you smoke it around, and if I can smell it, man, fuck. Doesn't matter where I am, I always manage to get the heck out of there. At the occasion, I will smoke one or a few joints or pot and or hashish. But I cannot go without but I can go without for a very long time. Those substances do not rule my life. Perhaps I'll do a little magic mushroom trip once a year or 2 years, but none since the past 3 years. And now it's 4 years now. Now I'm writing it, right? Now I'm reading it. I never try any opiates. No, that's not true. I did a little last fall. Sorry. I never try any opiates or the derivative, like the derived from. I am not drawn into by pills. I am glad that I don't need any prescription drugs for my health. I had to take in the past some anti-inflammatory for my right knee, but the side effects drove me practically crazy and depressed. I didn't need to add some antidepressive on the top of that. As for crack and others, I can see their outcomes everywhere I go. I am not attracted at all. My last drop of alcohol to date was in August 2008. I had almost completely stopped drinking in 1990, but the few times that I drank again after, I had no control, so why continue? I only understood my problem during my closed rehab detox program with the AA in Tampico, Mexico. Prior to the Tampico one, I did a detox in Mexico City, and after that, 2 detox in Spain with the Bethel Church and 1 with Emmaus in Switzerland. The saying goes, once an addict, always an addict. My next addiction to get rid of is the darn cigarettes. Chapter Detox Centers. Mexico City, March 2006. During my stay in Mexico from November 2005 to May 2006, I smoked some pot but nothing too serious, and as for drinking, only once. I was introduced to this Christian detox center in a funny way. I was on the street in Mexico City and I knew that on Sundays that there was some free food inside of a church fence yard. So on Sunday I went there. But it seems to be kind of private, so I went to the park close by. I sat down on a bench and smoked as somebody else forgotten cigarette. I got to the apartment, I sat down on a bench and smoked right there. Some men that had spotted me near the church, recognizing the troubled soul that I was, came by and chatted me up a little. My Spanish was far from being perfect, but they managed to make me understand that if I wanted a place where I could eat every day and have a bed, to follow them. Which I did. We went to talk to someone at the church inside yard. Then we rode the subway for a good hour. I was welcome in a house, and someone that spoke English well went on explaining me its functioning and its rules. Not too hard. No swearing, no drugs, no alcohol, and no cigarettes. The center was Christian-based, but I don't remember its denomination. I don't know if they are, I don't know what they were, right? Baptist or, I don't know. Everything was free, but you had to take an active participation of the daily life and maintenance in the house and of the house to make sure that nobody stayed there just to stay there as a pasha, right? And just hang around, man. One of the rules was that after 3 weeks, you had to get a job outside the center But when working, you had also to come back every night for supper and sleep, and if it was possible, to perhaps give a bit of your income for the center. My participation became more active, and as the days went by, greater chores or responsibilities were given me. Within 10 days or so, they sent me to the little convenience store to get some 20-liter drinking water bottles or propane tanks, like big propane tanks, for cooking or anything else required. To my dismay, there were cigarette butts everywhere on the street, sidewalks, upsetting my mind. Like they were everywhere, man. I daydream of smoking one in hiding. You know, you got a good one, man. You just like that, take 3 puffs, man, and you go. But I didn't do it. For sure, somebody would have smelled it on me, as I would have entered a center every day the same thing on the way to the store. But I resisted. My daily confrontation with my demon, the cigarette. I became fearful of my quotidian outing. I buddy up with someone speaking good English, and that was working. So the daytime was gone, come back at night, right? On Sunday, we were going to the same church where we met at first. I didn't understand much, but it was an outing. So after a service, we ate at the church fence yard. My buddy invited me for a stroll around. 2, 3, this can only go for a walk, right? 2, 3 streets further down, we stopped at a convenience store and he bought a few cigarettes. We smoked them right there. I think he bought like 6. Chain smoker in row. Way to go. While smoking, we talked a little bit more openly than we would have at the center or around the others. When I told him that in 1 week I would have to find a job and I didn't know how I would do it, and mostly that if I was making money, if I wouldn't get the idea to take flight from the center. He started to explain to me a bit more in details of the behaviors that some of whom were working during the day and were coming back at the center at night had. Most of them had cash jobs, lots of small tips jobs. During the day, they would buy and indulge a little in what their addictions required and would come back, practically sober of whatever, as if nothing happened. I doubted a bit of what he said, but during the next week I kept my eyes and also my ears opened. During that week, I noticed some of them, little games, but most of them were coming back at night with some food or other necessities for the center, and sometimes surrendered a little bit of money to the disabled and half-blind elder also for the center. So what was the real game? You know, if everybody know, I know, so they must know, but I accomplished brilliantly, was brilliant, all the tasks that I was given to. Some of the center's authorities started to formulate future plans for me inside the organization, against my knowledge. The boss there was talking, hey, that guy would be pretty good there, maybe we could do this or that, right? I didn't know that. The Sunday of the third week, the same scenario that occurred the prior week took place. We went to the service, ate in the yard, and a little stroll with my buddy. Of course, we smoked a couple of cigarettes. Once back at the center, my buddy and I ended up facing the Inquisition. It was back in a hunt for the witch hunt, right? Someone from the church, while walking on our convenience store street, had to be, they were walking on the same street, man, had by pure luck seen us smoke, at the same time. Shit, we are busted. I believe that we were simply spied on. What am I to do? In the morning, I told them that I wanted to leave the center today. In the afternoon, with regrets, 3 guys accompanied me to the subway, last station. Northern Mexico City, where I resumed hitchhiking to the U.S. border. Chapter Detox Centers, Tampico, Mexico. And we're not in Mexico City anymore. Tampico, Mexico, April-May 2006. I arrived in Tampico in the afternoon. The idea of having a beer or tequila had been haunting me for some days. For an alcoholic, A lone beer just doesn't exist. I was resisting, but my resistance was weakening. It was getting weak, man. At the beginning of the night, walking this unknown city, I noticed some newspaper screen windows, and at the bottom of the building, and the Alcoholic Anonymous symbol on the door frame. I entered. I sat in the back, smoked a cigarette, had a coffee, and listened. At the end of the meeting, I went outside with everybody else. I bummed a cigarette and smoked it pensively. I was thinking, like the thinking man, right? A man came to see me, inquiring a bit, and made me understand that if I was interested, that there was another AA center. I followed them. Once at the center grill, like the bar door, they get grilled and barred. Once at the center grill door, he told me to wait there. He went in and talked to someone. That someone came back out with him. They made sure that I understood that it was a Cerrado, a closed center. So once I came in, I could only come out when my treatment was over. I accepted. Before entering, I heard the one that came out mentioning to the one that brought me there something about some money, 40 pesos, I think. I told them right away that I didn't have any money. My guide declared that he was going to take care of it. We went in together. I filled some paperwork. I informed them about some of my addiction. I told them and made them understand that I had smoked only a couple joints more than a month ago, and I had a shot of tequila at least 2 months ago. But since a few days, I wanted to drink. No problems. They brought me to a little room with a few bunks bed, and I was told to sleep there. There was a young man on a chair talking to me and watching me. That was the sobering room, the sobering up room, right? If you're buzzed or wasted or a bit of both or all of them, that's why they keep you there. They watch you over. After a half hour, they brought me some tea and something to eat. I slept a bit, woke up, ate a bit more, and talked a little. Just after 11 p.m., a lineup of 60 men and teenage boys of all ages walked by in front of me and asking me all kinds of questions. A little after, the same lineup walked back, going the opposite way, the opposite direction, asking me questions, and finally disappeared for the night. In the morning, I woke up fully rested. In between 8 and 9 a.m., they brought me to the main room. On Sundays, main room, I finished this one. Everyone that had passed in front of me the night before were sitting in the room on folding chairs. If I remember well, there were 7 to 8 rows of 10. The first chair of the first row up front had been reserved for me. Of course, everything was going on in Spanish. You have the time to think of a lot of things when you practically don't understand anything that's being said. You have a lot of time to ponder. And you ponder, man. P-O-N-D-E-R. As time went by, I got used to my environment, the other addicts, the schedules, and my Spanish was improving quickly. You have to listen, talk, and read from the AA booklet, in Spanish, of course. After 2 weeks, I started to really understand what was being said. The younger one must have been 14 to 15 years old, and the older one about 70. I could see the transformation taking place in the ones when arriving on their first day in a disarray state, and a few days or weeks later. Some new arrival couldn't say 2 intelligible words in a row, 2 words that made sense, are unable to read anything. And after a few days or weeks, they could talk normally and read without any difficulties at all. Of course, some friendship grew among us. We were all in the same boat, or just about the same. At 10 to 6 a.m., everybody up. In 10 minutes, everyone had their very cold shower and did the washroom thing, if needed, right? If you don't have to go washroom, don't, but you slept, you gotta go washroom. At exactly 6 a.m., 10 minutes, man, shower, shit, let's go, man. At exactly 6 a.m., the first junta, like a meeting or a parent, in the main room. We're not being silver spoon, but I believe that if you are going through a detox program a little too catered to, you will not understand. During these meetings, except for the first one, there were always packs of cigarettes showing up, and the smokes were distributed to all of us one by one. The first day I couldn't believe my eyes. Every day, at each junta, those carcinogenic delicacies, that those things that might or will give you cancer, that were greatly expected and appreciated. Officially, the only one with a lighter on him, hanging on his neck, in plain view was the tercero. The tercero, the one in charge of the kitchen, to light up the gas stove. But then you gotta smoke, man. You pass the lighter, and then suddenly it comes back to him, right? Some days were a little harder than others. Depending on testimonies, some were quite hardcore. I was telling myself that compared to others, that I didn't have any real problems. We did everything by hands, cooking, laundry, and a lot more. On a certain night, a special junta, with some ones that had done the program at the center or invited from another center from another city, and the change of the persons responsible for the main task. The main task, primero, first, was in charge of the scheduling and the good functioning, and was the keeper of all the center's keys. The center keys, man. Get all the keys. Segundo, the second, helped the primero in his task and more. Tercero, third, was in charge of the kitchen and the meals. Cuarto, fourth, was in charge of the sleeping quarters and the discipline. Please excuse me if I made some mistake, but as far as I remember, that's what it is. Sundays were the visits days for the ones being allowed to have some. Family or friends were coming in the outside yard, but inside the walls. They would bring all kind of things, mostly food, and the leftover was shared with everybody else in treatment. Party time, they all brought food, and they made sure they brought lots. So there was leftover, Funny event, during my first week, I understood that April 22nd was the 10th anniversary of the center, and there would be a big fiesta somewhere else. April 22nd is also my birthday. I was going to be 44. About 20 of the ones currently in treatment would be chosen to be invited to the fiesta, right? I had hoped to be chosen, but to no avail. When the cat played, the mice ran away. The night of the said fiesta, by 10 p.m., someone was watching the primero falling asleep at his desk. We were watching the television in the main room. Someone jammed the chair on the doorknob, but under, right? 3 guys succeeded in dislodging, like they removed the bars, and they just of the window sill. And then more than 20 of them went at large. POW. The rest of us, no, not PO, AWOL, I should say. The rest of us just watched them go. And about half hour after, we woke up the primero. We made sure, the morning after, the primero lost his job. Well, they asked me why I didn't run away also. I told them that I had entered the center voluntarily and not brought in by my family or by the police. My 5th week, I was a tercero assistente, the 3rd assistant. The tercero didn't have any kitchen or restaurant experiences, but I had. What a beautiful experience. I took care of everything in the kitchen. I asked to leave at the end of my 6th week. Usually it is 12 weeks, but I felt ready, and they believed that I was also. On the 5th Sunday, I had the privilege and the honor to greet the visitors. Amen. My 6th week was my desfogue, or something like that. It takes place in the main room at night from 11 p.m. to 6 a.m. with the ones that are getting ready to leave the center. You're only 5, 6 guys, whatever. That is when you expected That is when you expel out the big shit. Whatever bothers you, man, you just let it out, man. My padrino godfather, Alfonso, and three others brought me to the bus depot. He paid my ticket for Matamoros and gave me an extra 150 pesos. In Matamoros, I wondered, how was I going to cross that border?